Yesterday was CTE Awareness Day, but I think every day should be CTE Awareness Day because nobody gets it unless you're living with it, or if you're a family member that sticks around. When I ended up with my brain injury in 2011, 8 days after the last game of the rugby season, I knew what was going on. I knew that the hits all throughout my life since I was about a 5-year-old child had done their job through accidents in sports. I had my Auntie Dora who suffered from Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. I'd studied her disease, so I knew the ins and outs of the brain and what it was capable of, and I knew what was happening. Everyone else did too, including my family member who lied in 2016 to get me locked up. Now, she had previously bought me a brain injury book, a traumatic brain injury book. I underlined everything in that book. I sent it to her in Australia so she could understand more, and she flipped after my Uncle Bill died and lied to every single person I knew and mental health and the police and got me ripped from my home, misdiagnosed, forcefully drugged, and my life as I knew it was over. If you have a brain injury and you get misdiagnosed with a mental illness and you get treated and forcefully drugged for something you do not have, it is not going to end well. When I was locked up, she got people to come into Dora and Bill's house and remove my belongings. People that had no right to be in my house in the first place. People who had no right to take my belongings from the house, from the sheds, and they have never apologised for that. So as well as being locked up due to absolute lies, as well as being forcefully ripped from my home by the police, as well as being manhandled and forced on the ground and forcefully injected with drugs, I had to contend after I got out to a home I didn't even recognise, while members of this public came into my house and took my belongings. Never once was I apologised for that. I've never had any single apology whatsoever for what she has done to me and caused over the last 10 years. The second time she got me locked up, I was getting married. And she did not want me to get married, so she tried to get me locked up while I was still in Christchurch organising the wedding. She tried to get the police to grab me and take me to Hill Morton Hospital. Now, the Greymouth Hospital the first time was bad enough. Imagine being grabbed by the police over in Christchurch when you're getting ready to get married and helping the homeless and doing animal rescue. You know, I have PTSD from the first time in 2016 and then again in 2019 what they done here. If someone is going to be dragged from their house by police and mental health, you should actually make sure the facts are correct. False witness statements given to police and mental health is not only wrong, immoral, it is also illegal. So what was done to me was against the law, and nothing's been done. And this is happening to a lot of people. Like when I was locked up and drugged, I was thinking, if this is happening to me, who else is this happening to? So when I was forcefully drugged, I thought my Uncle Bill was still alive. You know, that's the sickest feeling, to know someone's dead but the drug's telling you they're still alive. I was paranoid every second of every day. It was horrendous. I thought, and it was so real, that people were above me watching me. All these people in Hokitika that had done what they'd done, my family members, the doctors, all the people that came into my house and ripped my belongings. I thought they were above me, so I was trying to have a shower, and the paranoia was so severe. All these people were watching me shower. They were watching me as I tried to go to sleep in bed, so I couldn't sleep. They were watching me while I was driving. They were watching me at the river when I was with Dave. They were watching me at the beach. And they blamed me. I have never had that experience in my entire life. Suddenly they forced drugs into me, and I'm a fucking raving lunatic. Like, that's not normal, and they blame me. I also wanted to end my life every single day on them drugs. They blamed me. They forced more drugs into me. Antidepressants, which made me want to take my life even more every single day. Do you know how hard that is? And they watched it, and they could have stopped it, and they chose not to. They knew they were destroying me. I could not communicate. I could not think apart from the paranoia and the wanting to end my life. There was nothing. There was no feelings of love. There was nothing. It was, when I say in my poetry, they erased me from my own mind. That's what they did. They actually ripped out my soul. That's what these kind of drugs do. If you have a brain injury and they misdiagnose you with a mental illness and they force drugs into you, that's what you become. If I heard that gate, there's a latch on the gate, if I heard the gate, I would go into my room, just rush into my room, I'd shut all the curtains, I would go under the covers of my bed, and I would be in a fetal position. Anyone who knows me knows that that is not me. That is not normal. And she came into my bedroom and seen me in that state, and she allowed that to continue to happen. That's how they wanted me. I was on a mattress in the lounge with my then husband, and he was trying to make things easier for me to cope with. And I just had my back towards the TV right into the lounge like this, and my eyes were flickering at 100 miles an hour. That is not normal. And that is how they left me. That's how they wanted me to stay for the rest of my life. The doctor went to the judge, and she was trying to force me to stay like that for the rest of my life. That is how my family member wanted me. So I would not get my story out and stop it from happening to other people. I tried and failed with an overdose in my bedroom with Smudge and Dave beside me, my animals, because I felt nothing for them. I wanted to leave this world because of her and because of what she done to me and what state she wanted me to live in for the rest of my life. I sat in front of the judge that day. I have no idea what they said. Casey had got friends to come to fight for me. I just kept praying. I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And at the end, he said to me, "What would you like to say?" I said, "I can't live like this." I said, "If you don't give me my life back, there will be one or two things happen." I said, "I will end my life and do a proper job this time. Or two, I will sell the property and I will disappear and no one will ever see me again. Ever." And I went back praying. He rang my mother. I can't remember what he said. I can't remember what she said apart from her words. "I just want my daughter back." She knew what was happening. She seen the state, but she couldn't override the power and control that my family member had over my life. She had everyone convinced. Everyone convinced I was dangerous, psychotic, I was a drug addict, I was a thief. I live with morals. I do not lie, I do not cheat, I do not steal. The only drugs I have ever done is alcohol and a couple of puffs of weed. And I've never been addicted to anything. Not one person has ever had the balls to come through my gate and apologise for what they have done. Not one person has ever had the balls to put a letter in my letterbox to apologise for what they have done. Not the men or women that lied. Not the men and women who came into Bill's house and took my belongings. There is no respect, there is no dignity, and what she done was certainly not out of love. If I was dangerous and psychotic, I have never touched anyone, I have never ever harmed anyone, and everyone, when they hear my story, say the wrong person was locked up. And that is true. I know a lot of people out there are going through the same thing with family members coercively controlling their life. I know that things happen that are next level, that are wrong, and because everyone's on their side, you get the raw deal. Your life gets destroyed. You nearly lose your life. You have to fight like shit to come back from what they done. But there is power in what they done to you. There is a reason to fight, there is a reason to survive, and there is a reason to speak up and say what you have to say. For so long I was silenced. Like I said, I couldn't even communicate. I don't know how the hell my husband stayed for 4 years. He looked after me, he done everything for me, he done everything in his power. I was not the woman he met. I was not the woman he fell in love with. She ripped me from him. And like I said, I have no idea how he stayed, but he stayed and he fought and he loved for as long as he could. And I'm just glad and I'm thankful for God that I fought for 10 years to get back to who I am. I have held my morals, I have held my dignity, I have held my respect, and I will never ever let her put me in that position again where she erases me from my mind, where she takes me back to the paranoia, to the fear, where she takes me back till she, I will never ever let her rip my soul out from me again and destroy who I am. CTE is a brain disease. It is not a mental illness. If you lie about someone and you do what she done to a family member, they will not make it out the other side. I stood in the mental health building and I stood there and I said, I have a brain injury, do not drug me. I have a brain injury, you will kill me, do not drug me. Get my report from the concussion team. Get my report from the neuropsychologist. Get my paperwork for my brain injury, where it states CTE, where it states frontalis interna, where it states traumatic brain injuries. Get it. And they never did. They went off the false witness statements given to my family member to control and destroy and erase me from my life. And I sit here today stronger. I will never, ever, ever be erased again. I will never, ever, ever let them take my voice. And if you need help or support or need to talk and you're in the same situation, please reach out.